Good evening and welcome to Midnight Expressions of my card making class. My name is Lauren Remington and tonight we're going to do a really fun steampunk Easter card with a step out inside. It's really quite interesting and quite lovely when it's finished. A lot of fun. It's a bit of work. It has, let's see, 7 pieces on the inside. No, let's see, I take that back. That was a different card. Oh, I don't know, probably at least 20 pieces to this card. So we'll get started on it. And the reason I'm not going to show my face today is that I had eye surgery. And I'm not allowed to wear makeup for an entire week. No eye makeup, no makeup. Ah! And I started to do a video showing my face and it scared me to death. I didn't want to frighten you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and switch glasses here. And we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you one that I did. Now this one here kind of broke apart, and that's the one downside to this. But here, if you can see it, it kind of, when it folds up, it gets a little wonky and it's a little temperamental. It can tear, so you have to be careful with it, especially if you're going to be sending it to someone. And once you make it, try not to open and shut it too many times, because every time you open and shut it, the little connections get weaker and weaker. But I'm also going to show you a workaround that issue, because where these little parts connect, if you can see where the little stair steps are? See how it tore right there? Yep, it did. Now you can tape that. You can tape it on and it stays just, well, I won't say fine, but it stays together. I don't like to have tape on my cards, but it's a little wonky in that regard. Now, what I did is I used my Cougar machine and my Make the Cut software, and I designed this card based on, the original design was based by, I don't have the YouTube in front of me. I would so love to give her credit. I'll try to find it and get back to you on it. A wonderful lady who saw this done over, I believe in Thailand or Taiwan, somewhere over in Asia. And she said they were doing them by hand. And she herself, in her demo on YouTube, does it by hand. And what she does is, you know, she puts a card in half. Let me show you here. She takes the card. Oh, here. She takes the card, folds it in half, and she draws on, imagine this is just one card folded in half, and she draws up 1 inch and over a ½ inch, excuse me, over ½ inch, up 1 inch, over ½ inch, up 1 inch, over ½ inch, up 1 inch. Same on this side. And just like a, as she said, like you're building a wedding cake, tiers, and then straight across at the top. Now, what I did is I used Make the Cut software, again, my favorite software in the whole wide world. And I used, by using a layering technique and a kind of hidden tool in there. You have to know where it is and how to get to it and how to make it work. Once you figure that part out, and I'll do a class on that down the road when I can figure out how to get my computer and my hooked up closer to this camera. But anyway, so then with my machine, it cuts. I set it so that it would cut. It would go dot 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 in, so make like little dots in, like little scores, doot, 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 and then up 1 inch, and then score in a ½ inch, cut 1 inch, score 1 inch, cut 1 inch, score clear across, and back down. Now what happens is when you do that, you can see it attaches right here in this little corner. Now that's not much of an attachment. That's an itty bitty teeny tiny piece of an attachment, a piece of paper. So the more you fold it and unfold it, the more likely it is to tear. There is a bit of a workaround where we can make that work for us. I'll show you down the road. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to start with, today we're going to put it on a black card. We're going to use black cardstock. And this one, I want to say, let me get my ruler. I should have had these measurements written out for you, but we'll do it. I've had surgery, so bear with me. Okay, this is 5.5 by 5.5. Okay, so again, it's an 11 by 5.5. And I just spit on it. Okay, and then the other thing I did is to make it a little bit nicer is I have this wonderful velvet paper. It's by SEI, and I buy it wholesale, and it's a wonderful, wonderful paper. And even wholesale, it is really, 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 really expensive. So just so you know, it's not cheap. And what makes it not cheap, even at wholesale, is the shipping charge. So I'm guessing it's all coming from China because of the high shipping costs. It has to be. I still have not found a source over there that I can get it from. I do buy things from China. I'm not anti-China. I'm pro-USA. Go USA. But I'm not anti-China. I'll tell you, some of the things I get from there are amazing. I get some of my dyes now are coming from there. And the truth is, a lot of these companies that are selling dyes, one in particular that I really love, and I buy a lot of their dyes, they come from the UK, and actually they're being created in China. They mark them up and then ship them to us and charge us an enormous shipping fee. Enormous. Obscene, if you will. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead, and all I did was fold it in half so I knew where my mark is. And I'm going to go down, I'm just going to make sure it goes along the outside edge of the tape. The outside edge. I'm not so concerned with the inside edge. And the reason I left this opening is simply to conserve, because this is so expensive. And paper in general, as you know, can be very cost prohibitive, especially if it's a especially nice piece of paper. Whoops, oh no. My ATG is fussing with me tonight. So bear with me. Hold on. Ugh. Of course it would do it in the middle, in the middle, right? Just do it right in the middle, of course. I'm so sorry. Let me try and undo this for a minute. Okay, so we go over the top, this way, under this way, and up over the top, and back around over here. Let me poke this off. Only takes a second, but it would be better in the long run just to do it properly, then it will stay, hopefully. I love these ATGs, I mean, because you can get so much tape on them. They're wonderful, except if they're not working. And for some reason, this one here did not do so well. Okay, now we're back at it. Sorry about the delay. Okay, so again, we're going along the outside edge of this because the inside edge is going to be covered with paper, so it won't matter. But this outside edge, you want to get it as close as possible. Okay, there it is. Now, I'm going to put it sideways. It'll be hopefully, no, yeah, I need to kind of measure. I'm going to flip it upside down because I don't want the stickiness to catch on it. I kind of want to give myself an idea about how much space around it. It's about 1/8 of an inch around. So that's pretty close. So now when I go to lay it down, this is going to be a tricky one because it's really floppy. But let's give it a go. So I'm going to stretch this part out, and I can kind of match approximately what I saw a moment ago. And you also want to match to this little here where I made the little mark because I centered it. I'm going to go kind of like, let's see if I made it too, I think I made it too far, too close to that edge. Dag nabbit. I'm going to pull it in a little bit like so. I'm going to pull it up. One thing is this particular tape that I'm using is called repositionable. As you can see, sometimes we don't always get it in the exact spot that we need it, so it's important to make it, if you can, get the repositionable type. Make your life a little bit easier. I try to keep things simple if at all possible. Nope. Well, this is, I probably should have done this before we started the thing, just because it is kind of a pain in the butt. Forgive my language. Okay. This particular paper is beautiful. It actually looks like suede. The problem with it is that it works a lot like material in that it's just like suede wood. So the downside is, the upside is it's beautiful. The downside is it can be a little hard to work with sometimes. Okay, well that's pretty good. Okay, and again, we didn't put any tape on the inside. This way. Didn't put any tape on the inside. I'm going to tilt you down a little bit more. Maybe you can see it better. Okay, so inside it did not get any tape, and that's okay because we're going to cover it up with this one. Now I'm going to set that aside, and this one here, you can see it's all folded out. See how cool that is? Nice 3D. And this paper, now this paper is photographic paper. And what I did is I took the image that I liked, excuse me, from a tablet of papers that I like, and but it wasn't the right size that I needed. So I went ahead and scanned it, and I'm hoping I didn't have any problems with copyright doing that, but I scanned it, and I'm not doing this on mass production or anything, so I think it's okay. I scanned it in and then cropped it to the size that I needed. Basically, I didn't really crop it, I shrunk it down to the size that I needed. And I brought it in to make the cut software, and then used my cutting you know, layers that I was telling you about, this whole pattern that I created, and let it cut it out. I printed it out, put it back in, and then cut it out on my Cougar. So once you, it took me a whole freaking day to get it together. But once I got it together, then you can, you know, print out multiple copies if you need to or want to. See, you can see it again on the back side. So we're going to just go around the outside edge, just around this edge here, around this edge. You do not want to get any tape in the center at all, because all that stuff has to move around, push up, push out. And again, because I'd opened and shut it so many times, do you see where this here is broken right here? This is supposed to attach right there. Oops, right there. This is supposed to attach to this spot, see? But it doesn't. It's broken loose, and that's because I opened and shut it too many times. And but I have to say, this photographic paper worked the best in terms of trying to find something that wouldn't break. I tried regular cardstock, and I know she used cardstock in the video that I saw, but that didn't work for me at all. That was even worse. Now maybe because when she does hers by hand, she doesn't have the little dashes of cuts. She simply folds it there. So she folds and then cuts she folds the half-inch piece parts, and then she cuts up an inch. So she probably has a sturdier piece of material to work with in her end result. That's probably why hers stayed together a little better. But honestly, it was confusing enough doing it this way. I really admire what she has done, because honestly, it was mind bender just trying to make it work. So basically, that's what it looks like when it's flat. See? So no biggie when it's flat. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, and I put just a little border of that suede on there. Now, when I do, I think on the ones I did after this, I made this piece a little bit longer so it was more equal distance all the way around. And it won't make any difference. This is really just kind of a mock-up card to kind of show you how it's done. It's nothing I'm going to be sending out to anybody. It does not have to be perfect. I hope you don't mind. Okay, so now, let's see here. Let me get my other card to kind of get a feel to remind me of how I did it. Okay, so one of the things, I love this little die. It's a die that makes these little chains, which is just so cute. And it's a clock, you know, like it reminds me of the hare, the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland, his little pocket watch. So I'm going to put that up here, okay? And remember how I even put that one on there. Well, we'll glue it instead of, I don't want to use tape. I really don't want to use the tape because I don't want the tape to come out the other side. I don't like working with glue particularly, just because it can get messy, and it can mess up the whole card if you get it on things. So I tend not to use it unless I absolutely have to. That's just me. Everybody has their own way of doing things. If you're comfortable with the glue process, feel free. I'm just barely touching it, just enough to give it just a touch of a tack. Just a little tiny tacky. Okay, and I'm going to set this little guy. Now I could put him, I want to put him in this corner. I think we just put him up there like that. Now the other thing I did, and it was kind of fun, is these little glass pieces. I got them at a store that was going out of sale. It was called Franklin's, and they went out of sale about a year ago. It was sad because it was a nice craft store. They had interesting, very expensive store, but they had interesting, different type things as opposed to the standard things you find at Michael's or Joann's or Hobby Lobby. So, but this one was a nice size. It's good. You can see those 2 fingers. So this one here is. This one is about, I think they call them caberons, don't they? If I recall. It's about 1.25 inches, maybe a little more. And this particular one is round on one side, domed, and flat on the other. So what I'm going to do, now this is where glue does come in handy. I'm going to put some glue on here, just kind of wiggle it around. And I love this glue. This is Scotch glue. But I love the way it is a glue pen, but it's a big one. See? And it's by Scotch. There it is. How's that? Better? Better? I think it's like that. There you go. I think you can read it like that. Anyway, I love it because it's easy to get the glue out without getting it all over yourself. And it comes out in small enough quantities. Can you see that? I'm going to just lay this on here and then squish it around. Just wiggle it a smidgen. Not a lot, just a smidgen. And then in general where you want it, and then it will attach. There. And that gives it nice, interesting. I like to have something a little interesting on my card, something that you wouldn't see every day. The other thing I did before we got online is, these are some of my cutouts. I just found these on the internet and brought them in to make the cut software, saved the file, brought in to make cut software, and then printed them out and then put them back in and cut around them. And I like to cut them directly next to it, right next to the image. And some people, and you can do this with, again, with Make the Cut software, you can go out maybe 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, or however, if you want to leave like a white border all the way around, like a margin. I like mine like this. But then if you do this, you need to be sure to use a marker. Let me show you what I used. You can use a marker. I use Tombows. I love Tombows. Sometimes I use, depending on what it is, a Sharpie. Sharpies work just as fine, just as good. I use the black Sharpies sometimes. In this case, I think this is the one I used. It was either this one or this one. This one here is the Tombow. It's an acid-free, and it's number 879. They don't put the names of on their pens. They don't say like brown or chocolate brown or anything. Interesting, they're made in Vietnam. I did not know that. Huh. Anyway, and so they have 2 tips. These have a tip on one end that's like a brush. Okay, and this end is more like a pen. Can you see that? Yeah, there it is. More like a pen. And I almost never use the pen end. I usually use the other end. And I use them 99, excuse me, 0.9% of the time. I do this. I take the side, See, there's a side, it's a white side on the back, and you're supposed to go from the back side, and there's a reason for that. If you go from the front side and you think you're being steady Eddie, and then all of a sudden, you know, your attention gets moved away, or you become a little overzealous or overconfident. I'm sure you who have done this before know what I'm talking about. And then in the process you go and you go right across the image, and you don't want that because it ruins the image and you got to start all over. So it's best to go from behind. Now you can even tilt in a little bit. Can you see what I'm doing? So we'll go like this. See, just go along the edge. Do. So if I like this, if you happen to write on it by accident, whoops, there it is. If you happen to do swoosh across, it doesn't matter on the back, but you don't want to do that on the front. So that's why you go from behind, like this, and just rub it horizontally. Use the side of your pen. And I know this, for advanced users, crafters, I know this is old school stuff. This is stuff you've done for years. But for the newbies out there, just want to kind of let you know what that is. So what it does is it gives a nice professional edge to it and a little more dimension. Now if you wanted to, I didn't do it on this one, but you could. You could very easily. Let me think. Let me grab it real fast and just show you something else that you could do. Since it is supposed to be a balloon, I'm going to set this aside. This is my McGill mat. It's an it's kind of an embossing mat. And this, I'm going to do this area here and kind of push it out. So I'm using, this area is Martha. I don't know where my other, I think my other tools, my McGill tools, which are really great, are downstairs in my kit where I'm doing a class, so I don't want to drag them all the way upstairs and unpack everything, so I need to get another set for inside. So here is, but this is a nice big one. See how big the ball is on the end? And if you watch, you just go little tiny circles, like little kind of circles like that. And we're just going to go around the edge, just like so. Little circles, little ones, little baby ones, all the way around the edge. And this one's easy. It's not like flowers. This one I know is like, it's like a cone, right? Like an ice cream cone. So it's easy to know where you need to push it out. Very easy, very simple. You don't have to do any marking or anything like that. Now all I'm trying to do is make it like an ice cream cone, make it stick out a little bit. Okay? Not too much. Because you want the, it's going to be flying in the air. See? Nice. Makes it look real. Much more real. And the same with the basket. We can make the basket look a little bit more 3D. Just by making it a little more curved to it. Like so. And this is, these here are the strings. I'm also going to bend it just a little bit there so it looks like it's actually a balloon hanging on to the edge. Okay? Now, because we've done that, I'm going to, when I attach it, I'm going to attach it right in here. And I think I'm going to just go ahead and use the tape and just do the tape part right here. I want this on pretty tight. So I'm going to put him, let's flip it upside down like this. We're going to put it right here so you can see. And you don't want it sticking over the edge. So you're going to bring it down. There we go. That's good. That's real good. Okay, now the other thing we have here is this adorable, adorable bunny rabbit. And when I say steampunk, for those of you who do not know, look at this, this is adorable. Isn't that just wonderful? For those of you who don't know what steampunk is, this is steampunk. This is ideal. This is the epitome of it. It's gears all put together to create either a person or an animal or a flying machine. It kind of originated from a combination of Victorian era the Victorian era, like if you think back to, if you ever saw the movie, the original one of the Time Machine and the Warlocks and all that. In that show, the Time Machine, they had the steam engines was just getting started, and so the idea of gears and steam and things like that kind of all came together, and pipes and things. And so in a lot of the, like in here, if you look carefully here, see lots of gears, things like that. And a lot of times you'll see very feminine things like Victorian ladies with corsets, and it's endless, the number of things that you'll see there. I'm going to give this little bunny not too much, because he is supposed to be more gears. I'm not going to give him too much dimension. I'm not going to rub him too much. It's a smidgen. Just a scooch. Okay? Just give him a little more oomph. Oomph-pa-pa. Okay, so on this one, I have to flip it for a minute so I see what I'm doing. So I know what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll put him here. Okay, so he's going to go right there. And same thing, I'm not really putting anything. Okay, I'm going to put him right there. His little tail sticking out just a little bit. Just a little bit. So far so good. Really cute. I have a key that I cut out. Now this paper here is paper that I get at wholesale, but Gina Designs. She sells this. It's a copper. It's a kind of paper that looks like metal, clear through both sides. So when you make something with this and you do a really high emboss on it, it looks real. It really looks like a little key. It is so wonderful. I love this paper. It's my favorite. This one and the antique gold are both my favorite. So on this one, I'm going to try. I'm just going to put a little bit right here. What you don't want to do is have the tape coming out. Bear with me. You don't want the tape sticking out the other side and getting stuck to the other side of the card. So if you're putting tape on something as small as this, make sure that it's all tucked behind. You don't want any tape showing through. And the other way, once you get it there, you can kind of pull it down with your thumb or your forefinger. And same thing with the sides. So now I've got tape just on this part right here. Okay, that's important. Little tidbit there. Okay, so this one is just going to go kind of down here like this. And it's nice to have it not totally attached, because it gives it, again, a little more dimension, 3D kind of feel to it. Okay, so we've got those. Now the rest of it, we have a few gears. We have some gears. That goes on the front. Here we go. This is one of the gears, and I believe we have a couple of those, and that goes on the front. All right. So the other thing we have here that's large is this. It's a basket. And it's going to be a basket to put eggs in. Easter eggs. Steampunk Easter eggs. So I'm going to kind of work this one just a little bit to make it a little more like a basket really would, as if it's a three-dimensional basket. So I'm just working it a little bit, not too much, not too crazy with it. A little more rounded is all. Okay, and because of that, I'm going to put some foam squares on the back side. And so I'm going to use these because normally I would cut these into smaller pieces, but in this case it's such a large piece anyway. What I like about this one for this particular usage is look how thick it is. This is at least not a 1/4 of an inch, but a solid 1/8 of an inch. And some of them, some of these that you get are very thin. And these days, thinner more than thicker, I'm afraid. They're trying to save money, I guess, but it makes it hard because you really want it to stick up a little bit. So I'm going to take this off. And let's see here on this one. Well, before I take that off, I'm going to add some eggs. Let's add a few. So we can add this one. This one. Where are the other eggs? Where did I put them? Aha. Okay, so we've got, let me think, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, those three. Okay, so the way I had it before is, I believe I had in here, put it kind of inside, but I had it sticking out over on the outside a little bit, so like it's almost falling out. So I'm only going to put a little bit of glue right here, and I'm not going to use glue, I'm going to use tape. Just a little tiny bit. And I'm going to put a little bit right up here. So it's going to go under here, just a smidgen. Isn't it the cutest little egg? Now this egg came from, and again, you don't want any tape showing on the back side. It's got to be, you got to push it in so it doesn't touch anything. That's really important. Lucy from Jaguar, Jaguar Woman Graphics, she made these, and they are phenomenal. I love them. And you just got to be careful of her Tao. You don't want to infringe on her copyrights. And just have to read up on them and make sure you do the right thing, because she works hard on her graphics. And I respect that, because I work hard on graphics too. Which gets me back to this little bunny. I found him all over the internet. I mean, he was everywhere. So he's been hopping around. And I hope I didn't infringe on any copyrights. It came from an image of somebody that actually builds those. And I don't know if they sell them or if it was just kind of their own little hobby that they do. I think it was just more of a little hobby, kind of a fun thing they were enjoying doing. I'm going to make this egg a little more, I should have done it on the others. I'm going to give him a little bit of an oomph. Make him look more round, more real. Okay, and he's going to go in here. So we're going to put just a little bit. Try it this way. There, and a little bit over here. Now the other thing that you could use here are dots. You know, the little glue dots. That would be very helpful here, actually. And this one, well, I gotta take this part off, this little glue thingy off. You don't want it to touch anything. You don't want anything exposed, any kind of glue exposed. So you just kind of push under, take it off or push it under. Okay, that's good. Now, what else? Oh, and then the Easter, Happy Easter. Now, the Easter, I wanted to tell you real quickly. The Happy Easter, all I did was, again, I used Make the Cut software, typed in the word Happy Easter. I used a fun little font that I found, and then printed